Urza's legacy. Much like its predecessor, the story of Urza's legacy actually begins in the previous set, Urza's Saga. The overlap includes a secret intruder assisted by one of the students of the Tolarian Academy itself, a betrayal of trust that will lead not only to characters being slaughtered by Phyrexian negators, but an explosion and a rift in time that will forever alter the course of history. It leads Urza building a weapon that will ultimately try and stop the evil Phyrexians once and for all. A weapon called the Legacy. Picking up where we left off, Urza has created a temporal aperture which can send the all-silver golem, Karn, back in time. However, it can only send Karn back a maximum of 2 days. Urza wants to send him back much further, back to the time of the Thran, and figuring out how they stopped the Phyrexians in the caves of Koilos. But first, we must take a moment to discuss the Tolarian Academy student Jorah of the Gitu. A star pupil from the mountainous land of Shiv, one night she sees a shipwrecked man wash up on the shores of Tolaria. While she knows to trust no other adults, for they might be sleeper agents, Jorah helps him anyway. His name is Carrick. She trusts this secret only to Karn. As Jorah is one of Karn's only friends, he agrees to keep the secret with her. At night, Jorah would visit him, her secret guest, and her secret lover. During one of Urza's time travel experiments, Karn notices a shadowy figure stealing blueprints from Urza's lab. Following the intruder outside the academy through a secret passage Jorah used to sneak out of it, he discovers it is Carrick, contacting another figure and asking for a squad of Phyrexian negators. When Karn returns to the present, it is too late. The Phyrexian negators were slaughtering students, including Jorah. Karn finds her body on the ground, bloody and lifeless. The negators slaughter most of the Tolarian Academy students, including Jorah, Teferi, and Baron Master Wizard. Karn, grieving over the loss of his friend Jorah, returns to Urza and requests to go back in time to prevent the attack. The temporal aperture is near overload, but Urza agrees. Back through the temporal aperture he goes, and he is successful in stopping Carrick. But as he tries to return, the temporal energies surge, causing a massive explosion, a time spiral. The Tolarian Academy is sundered, and the explosion destroys the school entirely. Urza is able to planeswalk and rescue over a dozen teachers and students. While Karn leads 30 survivors from the rubble, Urza feels it is a good trade, since Baron survived in this timeline, but Karn sees the destruction and considers it an unforgivable trade. Urza and crew leave the island of Tolaria, only to return a decade later. There, Urza and Baron return with a new batch of students to rebuild, only to find the explosion has caused an incredible aura flux. Some energy fields, also seen as time bubbles, travel 10 times as fast as normal time, while others are much, much slower. Travel between these areas will kill you, and the incredible exhaustion caused by working near them had them create blue environmental suits to withstand it. One student caught in slow motion was that of Teferi. He was in an incredibly slow time bubble, with a fireball right in front of him, slowly inching closer. Jorah had wished she could do something to help, but she had seen many of her friends die horrible deaths from walking in or accidentally walking out of a time bubble. She had also been there for the past 10 years, tinkering, conducting experiments to better understand the rifts. Staying youthful thanks to drinking water from a slow time rift, she is furious at Urza for his experiments and what they've done to Tolaria. Regardless, she shows him a subversion, a heavily fortified chasm of fast time where time passes at 10 times its normal speed. Within it, Carrick, ostracized, has not only survived, but is growing an army of Phyrexian negators. He sees Urza and redoubles his efforts inside his home, the Grim Monolith. After a year of construction and preparation, Urza decides to assault the Phyrexians with a dirigible. While it does serious damage, it doesn't fully defeat Carrick, who manages to lure the machine low enough to destroy it. Urza and Jorah survive, but Jorah falls into a coma for several years. When she finally awakens, Jorah has a breakthrough and discovers you can funnel water from a fast time bubble into a slow time bubble, allowing travel between them. They use this to rescue Teferi, upset that he is still a boy while all of his friends have grown into adults. Urza decides to attack the Phyrexians again, this time with mechanical falcons to avoid human casualties. After years of preparation, he commences the attack but is himself caught and dragged into the fast time area, surviving only because of his planeswalker nature. Carrick captures and tortures Urza to prevent him from assisting the machines in their attack. Karn sees Urza fall into the chasm and rushes into it, fighting off Phyrexian negators to rescue him. As they escape, Urza is upset. He laments that he has only given Carrick more metal and power stones to use. Observing outside the chasm, Baron Master Wizard realizes this will be a full-scale war, but for every year they prepare, Carrick has 10. Urza then left Baron to run the Tolarian Academy, while he went to the scalding mountainous area controlled by the Shiv, with its acidic soil, home to fire ants, and a Thran quarry. Thran metal was the hardest in the multiverse, and Urza was determined to build a Thran golem who could withstand the ability to time travel further back than Karn ever had. He found a compound called the Mana Rig, where Urza was quickly met with the Viashino populace, its leader, the Viashino Bay, who immediately questioned Urza's power. They drive dragons from their homeland. Why would they let a mere human have access to the rig? Through his bravado, Urza showed him some of his power. They immediately relented. Soon they led him to the Thran turbine. They had no idea what it did, simply noting that it hums. Urza, however, quickly understood that the turbine and the mana rig itself could create power stones. A shower of sparks occurred as the Viashino were taught to operate it, but soon enough they got the hang of it. With the mana rig and its power stones, Urza could use them to create a great weapon to fight the Phyrexians, a weapon he would call the Legacy. Goblins were discovered not only in the scrap heap, but in the crawl spaces of the machine, accessing the mana rig through hidden means, even if those means featured the occasional steam blast. There was a great rivalry amongst the goblins and the Viashino, but Urza understood the goblins' purpose, and begrudgingly both races helped run and maintain the rig, even if the Viashino were convinced doing so was an impending disaster. As Urza left, he built a defense grid around the mana rig, as no one was to interfere with its work. Back in Teleria, inside their subversion, the Phyrexians were building a devastating army, showing no mercy as they attacked the rebuilt academy. Time was running out. Urza would need wood from the Yavimaya forest, amongst the treetop villages, deranged hermits, and acolytes, to build a weapon that would destroy the Phyrexians, a ship capable of traveling faster than the speed of sound, one that could plane shift, and could carry all the pieces of the weapon known as the Legacy. As Urza went deeper into the forest, amongst the harmonic convergence, he was led to the forest's avatar, Multani, Marrow Sorcerer. A very old creature in Yavimaya, his presence ever felt, he remembered someone known as Urza. Urza, the defiler of Argoth. Urza, the destroyer of elves, the evil's twin, the Endman, the slayer of the people of the world. He would not let Yavimaya suffer Argoth's fate, despite Urza's apologies and attempts to explain. Multani used an ancient treefolk mystic to mount a defense of the heart and lure Urza into a deadly trap, trapped inside the middle of a century-old tree. Hypnotized, Urza could not planeswalk out of it, and began to forget who he was, while slowly being destroyed. This continued for 3 years. Back at the rebuilt academy, Carrick's forces were beginning to destroy Teleria entire. Baron broke the warning seal for Urza to return. Overcome with visions of slaughtered students and hearing their cries for help, Urza is shaking out of his imprisonment. Multani attempts to recapture him, but is instead stuck within his energy as Urza planeswalks back to Teleria. Urza returned to the academy, and Multani watched as Urza fought to protect all life on Teleria from the Phyrexians. Understanding the true danger is Carrick, Urza descends into the fast time chasm and approaches the grim monolith. It is then Multani got to see the true horrors of Phyrexia, its broodlings and defilers alike. Carrick used his debasers, machines Urza fought him with in the past, against him, and just as Urza was about to die, Multani lends Urza his strength, and Urza then planeswalked directly into the space where Carrick was in killing him instantly. Multani's rancor was now in full force, and he was ready to help destroy the evil Phyrexian menace once and for all. He showed Urza the Weather Seed, the last in the multiverse, and in a cloud of fairies, they planted it. Inside it grew tree folk, immense beings of incredible power that would fight the hordes. After months of work, given a second chance at stopping the Phyrexians, Urza's blueprints were complete. He took the opportunity to complete it as soon as possible. Back in the plane of Sarah's realm, centuries after Xantia and Urza had visited the plane, the absence of Sarah and inability to rid itself of black mana, the realm was slowly crumbling. At the Forbidding Watchtower, the Archangel Radiant had gone mad, now the sustainer of the realm. While Sarah had ruled with hope and glory, Radiant had taken command and her judgment ordered all things she considered Phyrexian to be killed, whether or not the methods of finding out if they were Phyrexian at all were sound. After watching Radiant slaughter innocents he knew were not Phyrexian, Urza offers to take the refugees, any and all sleeper agents among them. Radiant refuses and declares him a Phyrexian. In her knighthood, Radiant declared her intent to destroy Urza once and for all. How shall we greet him, she asked, with swift and certain death. Radiant was convinced that peace and quiet could be restored, if only all of the Phyrexians could be found and destroyed. In Dominaria, the skyship Weatherlight is completed. Urza names Karn Master of Engines, and Jorah the Captain. While Urza had plane shifted hundreds of refugees from Sarah's realm to Dominaria, he would need the Weatherlight's help to rescue the remainder. With Urza and Baron riding on the backs of powerful dragons, they and the Weatherlight planeswalked back to Sarah's realm. What he finds is a plane on the verge of planar collapse. Angels attack them hoping for a cessation of the battle, but Urza realizes that every angel they kill merely hastens the collapse of the plane. Radiant challenges Urza to single combat and destroys the powerful dragon he was riding. Urza attacks her, but Radiant gains the upper hand by ripping out his Power Stone eyes, the Weak Stone, and the Might Stone. She then transports herself and Urza back to the Forbidding Watchtower, where she combines the two stones as the brothers once did long ago. This causes a huge explosion, restoring Urza's power and killing the now Phyrexian-controlled Radiant. The Weatherlight didn't have enough power to get the refugees out of the realm, but a blessed reversal occurs where using Fallen Archangel's weapons powers up the Weatherlight just enough to take all of the remaining refugees to Dominaria. Using the Worn Power Stone he retrieved from the Mana Rig, Urza then absorbs the rest of the plane's mana, completing the planar collapse, and Sarah's realm is no more. Join us next time as we discuss the impact of Urza's legacy. The lack of development continues as overpowered cards and strategies continue to deteriorate the standard landscape, and as we witness the only card ever strong enough to warrant an emergency banning in Standard. Thanks for watching.
Did you enjoy this episode? Help me make more over at Patreon. Patrons get to see the show before anyone else, get their name in the credits, and ultimately this show does not exist without it. So head on over to Patreon and I'll see you guys there.